Welcome back to Soar Financially. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode. And it's going to be a bit of a reintroduction of a story. I'm a shareholder of it. I've been to the project a number of times, I think 3 or 4 times now, easily in the last 12, 18 months. And we always interview the guests like when there's news. All right, but we never really reintroduce the story. So I want to start pretty much at zero and talk about how Banyan Gold sort of started and where we're at right now, and sort of really work out why I believe, and probably the CEO as well, it is a tier 1 asset and what that means. Can it be a standalone operation? It's like in conversation here in town, like I'm getting a lot of feedback. It's like, oh, this will never be a mine. It'll never get permitted. It's in the Yukon, things like that. All right, let's work through that. Like I can hear my guests laughing a little bit in the background because we've been there, we've done it, we've seen it, we've had the conversations, but I'm not sure if the message sent through. So that's the sort of the purpose of this interview, to work through the story a bit and clarify maybe a few things and work through that. So Tara, it is great to see you again on the program. Thank you so much for joining me here yet again in the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's start like really at the beginning. Like we don't need to start with the last projects, but let's start with the Banyan story. Like who are you in 30, 60 seconds, and then we'll work through the rest.
Sure. Well, I've been in mining all my life. My father's a geologist. I started my career in alluvial mining as well as in hard rock exploration. Worked through, environmental assessment, permitting, consulting for various companies, including Kaminak when they came to the Yukon, Newmont, worked up on Hope Bay. And that really prepared me for when I became the CEO of Banyan in 2016. So it's been a pretty short journey. We didn't acquire this project till 2017, and we've taken it from no resource. We actually made the power line discovery, which is now almost 4 million ounces in 2019. And our first resource, 900,000 ounces from, discovery to a resource by 2020. And then 2020 to 2023, we had that 4 million ounce resource in 2022 and now 6.2 million ounces this spring. That's pretty rapid growth of this project and the company.
Absolutely. Remind me, what's the total ounce count right now? Where you
6.2 million.
6.2.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's all inferred category, obviously.
All inferred.
Run us a bit through, like, where are you in the Yukon? And run us a bit through infrastructure. I think that is key.
So we're up near Mayo in the Yukon, about 50 kilometers north of it. Whitehorse is the capital, so that's about 550 kilometers away. But we're immediately adjacent to Hecla's mine, and Victoria Gold is 25 kilometers as the crow flies. The road's a bit circuitous. It's 42 kilometers. The main highway and roads go through our property, including the access road to Victoria Gold. We have a power line through the property that goes to the hydroelectric dam that's just 50 kilometers away near the community of Mayo. So green power, already on the power, already on the property. Roads, even cell phone service, great infrastructure. People think of the Yukon as being seasonal because you typically have to fly in, fly out. We're not seasonal. And that's a huge advantage to us and whoever, if somebody acquires it or if it gets built, to be able to go year round. That is really something different about us.
I think that's one of the reasons you quickly got to 6.2 million ounces within a very, very short period of time. Run us through that process. Like, how did you get to the 6.2 million? Because it is a short period of time. You don't have to deal with seasonality. What are some of the other factors?
So, drilling that out, it was just systematic exploration because we didn't have a lot of soil anomalies to guide us. But because we had road access and cell phone access, we typically drilled till like December 15th. And then we'd start again in February once the days got longer again. And just, it was just continued following up. Good old-fashioned geology, let's build this resource. We're also Yukoners. We've set ourselves up. And you look at the cost of our resource, like our all-in drill cost was $250. It's now about under $350 per meter. Or if you look at it on an ounce basis, our first resource was $2 per ounce. Then it was $4 an ounce. Now it's about $750 per ounce. So that's still pretty competitive. There are not very many majors that can touch that kind of an acquisition cost for or exploration costs for ounces. So even our current valuation today at about $8 per ounce, we were a few weeks ago, $15 per ounce. And this market is a little bit brutal for gold exploration companies, but it's also an opportunity. You're seeing, kind of that fear versus what are good projects, where is your money going to be safe, and in this market, interest rates and everything, it's challenging.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, like the wheat from the chaff, right? Like there's a typical saying, money is one thing that really separates the good from the bad. right? And you have cash, because that's also one of the factors why you are sitting at 6.2 million ounces right now, because you were able to finance and get to that stage. You said it's still $350 a meter to drill. How many meters have you put in, and how did you finance it?
Well, over the years, you know, we had various stages of drilling it out. So we have about 120,000 meters in now to get there. But financing it, when I took over as CEO and was a 4 or 5 million market cap company, the brokers weren't interested in helping. So I had to learn how to finance. And that actually made us have to develop relationships with some pretty serious partners and funds who I think are going to be there for the long term for us. Yes, we have Victoria Gold as a shareholder at 11.3. It's good to have that validation by a neighboring mine that they've made an investment and they've maintained that investment. We also have Franklin Gold and Precious Metals, and that last financing in December, I think, was quite a validation when Fidelity made an investment in us. That was that $12.2 million financing. And you'll notice all of my financings over the last 3 years have been without warrants. And that's so we don't have a warrant overhang. And we still have a strong treasury. We drilled 25,000 meters this year. So 107 holes. We have another 69 pending. We'll have lots of news flow through the fall. But we also have a strong treasury. You know, our June 30th financials were 11.3. That puts us north of $9 million today. That is a very strong treasury. Can allow us to turn the gas on. We're really focused on technical work right now, understanding that resource, where the higher grades are. We just put that out in May, finished the report in June. Haven't had a lot of time to really dig into it. We're doing that now. We're also doing the metallurgy, which I think is a really important catalyst for us and will be a real value add for our shareholders, that we show what the process option or options are for this. And we've really taken a deep dive and a broad look. A lot of people, well, you know, assume we'll be a heap leach like Victoria Gold. That's not necessarily, and I know I heard you talk about mill. Well, there are some larger companies which will only build a mill. And so they really wanted to know, well, let's look at the other options. And so that's something that Brad Thrall has really been helping us with, understanding that don't presuppose, let the numbers and the test work actually drive it. And then the economics are going to tell you what this project is. You know,
when can we expect a PEA then? The economics?
So the PEA isn't due until December of 2025 for our full earn-in.
No.
I'm going to let the market, we're doing all the technical work, and people will be able to see themselves what it is, but I don't think spending the money on the time on a PEA right now, the market wouldn't care.
Yeah.
So why don't we continue to advance this project, de-risk it, and then when we feel the market's right and we have a good project, then we'll put out the PEA. But you know it'll be by December 2025 because we got a bit of a deadline on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lots of things to follow up on, and I'm trying to figure out which direction to take this now because they're various. Victoria Gold is a shareholder, right? Do you think that pigeonholes you a little bit?
No, I actually don't. Their 11.3 is not a blocking position. And quite frankly, people might look at them, well, if they buy Victoria Gold, they'd have a toe into us. So I think that type of a market is coming. Some of the major companies, this is a good gold price, $1,900, $2,600 Canadian. Some have some very significant cash flows and are looking to add their ounces with near-term producers. Victoria Gold fits that bill. We fit that bill. So I think, and that's a risk for us at these low valuations. But I don't think it does because there are other strategics looking in the area. We know Hecla just outbid Victoria Gold for attack. That shows that they have made their investment not only for silver projects, but for gold in this jurisdiction. So I think they are a very real contender. But B2's made a big investment and their project is further out on the pipeline. There are other projects they could acquire in the Yukon, which would give them, be a key person in the jurisdiction with some nearer term projects.
Yeah, the Tombstone Gold Belt is the new, the marketing slogan for the belt, right?
Yep.
It's a term I hadn't heard the last 12 months really until one of the neighbors popped up as well. So, but congrats, that.
Oh, that's great news for us. I'm not afraid of talking about our neighbors. That's a great news story for us. It shows this belt is very, very prolific, underexplored.
Absolutely.
I had one analyst, Michael Gray, who was on your show the other day, was talking about the Tombstone Belt being the next Golden Triangle or Red Lake. Yeah. It is a mining district.
Completely underexplored as well. So
brings
me also maybe to the permitting thing. Like I had a conversation in town this week. I was like, why are you saying this? Like, why do you think this is not going to get permitted? And their experience, they should know. Because they've been to the Yukon, I know that. So permitting it, obviously, we got to get rid of that stigma. Like, why? Or maybe let me ask the proper question here. Do you think you'll get your own mine permitted there? as a standalone operation? I think that's the question.
Okay, well, do I honestly think I will still be around then?
No,
I don't know.
Let's take that out of the equation. But would that be possible to build a standalone map?
So the key advantages from permitting that Banyan has at Ormac are, one, we have existing roads and power on the property. Roads are a big permitting issue in the Yukon, that's no secret. Unsettled First Nations are also they take a lot of time to work with them, and then they've got their government-to-government relations, which really make it difficult for mining projects. We have one settled First Nation, which has existing agreements with the 2 mines beside us. That's a great advantage. Yes, you always have to do work with the First Nation when you are going through the permitting process to make sure that you're checking the boxes and that they're on side with you. But having existing roads and power, brownfields, is a very key thing for our project. We also have existing data. We have all of Alexco, now Hecla's data, as well as Victoria Gold. So that's millions of dollars and years of data. In addition, we started our baseline environmental in 2021. So, and you'll probably notice this week I hired Kai Hoffmann, who was with Insero and was also with the environmental manager for Alexco. So he's been through permitting in the Yukon. He's been managing our environmental program, as well as many for all the other competitors. But he's come on because we need that help as we position this project and show that it is a permittable project as well. He's going to work on some other areas as well for Banyan. But I think that's a huge advantage for us. And it shows we are very serious about this project being able to be advanced. We aren't just worrying about the resource. We're going to put together the complete package, the metallurgy, de-risking it, the engineering, the baseline environmental, and then a very significant mineable resource is what we believe is there.
Very significant. I promised in the intro we'll work through like the tier 1 checklist,
yep.
Right? 300,000 ounces a year, 15-year mine life. Do you think you'll reach that?
I think that we can show that on this project. Absolutely. Yeah, the people question the 300,000 ounces per year with the grade and the tonnage. That's something that we'll be working through as we do the metallurgy, and we're doing some engineering scenarios, and that kind of has to go hand in hand with metallurgy. You can run scenarios. We can see a couple higher grade trends through it. Are they real? Can you design it and sequence it so that you have that 15 years of production that you need? So that's all the work that we're going to do, and it's kind of iterative. You do some work, you get an indication that will guide our future drilling, as well as the engineering. So you do some metallurgy, you do some scenarios with the engine, and then you redo it as you get more information and you develop those scenarios long in advance of doing the PEA. Most people have done the work beforehand before they say, hey, I'm going to do the PEA. I wouldn't say it at all if I didn't have a deadline in our option agreement.
No, interesting. Like Tara's, like I mentioned a couple of criticisms that I heard about the story and addressed them to you. Like, is there anything else you like looking at the share price? 99% I feel is the market and just investor fatigue in general in mining, because they're just, okay, patience wearing thin, throwing in the towel. Let's come back maybe January, right? That's what the chart tells me on every single mining company pretty much, or exploration company. Is there any other feedback you're getting? Like, I don't know, I'm making stuff up now, but any things like one of your investors says, like, Tara is like, I don't like what you're doing here. Like, is there anything... Right, so I'm looking for reasons, trying to justify why 6.2 million ounces are only worth $85 million Canadian.
$8 per ounce. That's
right. So I'm trying to figure that one out. Like, where is? Because I don't see it. Okay, I'll be honest, I don't see it. So
look at our share volumes, though; they're very low volumes. Yeah. You know, if we had any of our large institutional other share, we'd have far larger volumes. So I think it really is the retail that's affecting the most of the mining and exploration companies right now, and you know, people are tired. They've got their own financial challenges. I think key hurdles for us will be getting the metallurgy out, and you know, we want to get it right. You only get one chance to get it right, so we're going to make sure that we have a complete package on that when we put it out.
What's timeline on that? Do you have a rough?
We've been saying fourth quarter. If we can get it before then, we will. You know, because you're dealing with an external consultant, and you know, we've shipped a ton of samples. We're going to ship some more actually to do some more work, and so there's other things that are beyond your control. So I want to make sure that we have time for that and get it right. Yeah. That's the most important thing.
And proper metallurgy takes time as well. If you do those bottle roll tests and column leach testings, those take 6 months.
They do. And then, you know, all the flotation and gravity and other work that we're looking at to really understand what the components of a flow chart would be. And I don't know, if you get it in December, you might not want to put it out till first quarter anyway. So, but the nice thing is, We're funded for next year. We're funded for exploration, all of our metallurgy for next year. So we can be patient, make sure we get it right, because I'm a big shareholder. Remember, I'm a 4% shareholder. I've put $1.5 million in the last 2 years. So I care about the share price, and some of that's finance. So it's not so fabulous in this current market, but I'm a strong believer in this project. I think we're doing the right things. I know we're spending shareholders' dollars well, because I take it very seriously that we've been entrusted with this money to advance this project. And we know we're going to deliver some value with it.
No, absolutely. It's a conviction play for me. It's like, I haven't sold. I bought it 48 cents. I think I made that quite public in previous tweets, posts, and other commentary.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying, I'm scratching my head, right? And I'm trying to figure it out. I think we ran through all the points. Like, we ran through the project, we ran through the permitting, shareholder base, you got cash, 6.2 million ounces.
Yeah.
What's next as of today, as we're recording this? Like, what can we expect next?
Oh, we've got a ton of drill results coming out. And we did, the forest fires delayed our core processing, and we ended, 300 meters short in our drill program just because it made sense. There were evacuation alerts. We made room for Victoria to move in our camp. We put our dozers on, putting in fire lines. But that did mean that our core processing is just wrapping up this week and shipping the final samples off to the lab. So yeah, that means our results are going to take a little bit of time, but that's all right. We have 69 holes still pending as of today. So lots of news flow. We'll have that metallurgy. You never quite know what you can release of the engineering work that you're doing until you get something that's final, but we are certainly digging into the technical data on the engineering, the geochemistry, and understanding where the intrusion is. We know there's an intrusion. We can see some dikes. We've got some vectors from isograds and various high temperature minerals that give you the direction of heat. So we're starting to think about and drilling off the intrusion. People say, where's your intrusion? And you haven't found the intrusion. Well, we have 6.2 million ounces without an intrusion.
Exactly.
That's itself a significant deposit. If and when we find the intrusion, that's just
the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. Eh?
Absolutely. But again, those are expensive holes. And if you drill a hole, and intrusions aren't necessarily, they can have areas where they come up, and so you want to have when you drill that, you probably only get a couple of chances to get it right. So we're going to spend our time thinking about it before we rush off to drill holes.
Fantastic. So 65 more holes to come, or at the end of it, are we going to see a resource update? Would it make sense?
It really depends on whether, people have seen how much drilling it takes for us to advance the resource. And again, it'll be whether it's worth spending the cash or whether we really have some key areas we want to drill before, because the next resource update we do probably will be the one that we go into our PEA with.
Okay, so you'll have to bring that up higher category.
Yeah, some of this modeling work that you don't for a PEA,
for PEA,
you can be inferred.
That's right.
But there are key areas which we might want to expand the resource. Like we've kind of have an idea where the edges are, but we haven't drilled it all out to the edges. And some of these higher grade zones, there might be ounces we want to pick up with some of the work that we're doing that will be significant because of how it gets mined and sequenced. So, or could potentially get mined. So that might guide some future drilling that we'd want to do before we do another resource update.
Okay, sounds good. Fantastic. Tara, it's like a head scratcher, no-brainer. I don't know, close to a no-brainer. There's always risk associated, right? But I'm a shareholder. I'm convicted. Like, for me, it's a conviction play. Like, how is this going to play out, right? 6.2 million ounces underneath the power line with a road next to it, and cell service. Cell service is important, right? So fantastic. Tara, thank you so much for joining us here. I think this was a fantastic reintroduction of the story, right? We always chat when there's drill results, but sometimes it's good to start at the top again and reintroduce the story, because it needed it. In my opinion, it was time for a reintroduction.
Great.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
I know you had a far way, so it was a long way from the office. Fantastic. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this update with Tara Christie. In my opinion, it was time to reintroduce the story a little bit, because we always do updates, but we never do an introduction. We have a lot of new viewers, a lot of different audiences, of course, as well. So it's always like a forest before the trees, right? Like sometimes we're too close, so try to take a step back. I hope this was helpful for you as well. Maybe you learned something new if you're already a shareholder. Make sure to subscribe to the channel right there. It says subscribe right there on it. We'll try to do as many updates as possible, of course, as well. Like, I'm invested here as well. This is an unpaid for interview as well. So, of course, I'm biased. I'm a shareholder. I want the company to do well. Tara is a good personal friend. We share an office here in Vancouver. But form your own opinion. Leave some comments below. Hit the like button, and we'll be back with lots more.